you must be ready to accept what cannot be changed. Be ready to accept what cannot be changed. Somebody says, you enter into marriage with your two eyes open. Afterwards, close one eye. Because you see, in marriage, there are things which you can't change. And one of the things that every couple must get used to that they can't change is they can't change the other person. You cannot change your wife and you cannot change your husband. If you went into marriage deciding or desiring to change people, you have frustration. A lot of people marry based on sympathy. They see somebody who is a wreck, and all of a sudden they have this, hero anointing, vicarious thing upon themselves. They say, I'm going to change this person. I will marry him and make him a gentleman. Let me tell you, what his mother could not do, you can't do. So if when you were courting your husband, he eats and you hear the sound, and you hear all this chom noise, and you say, I will polish him up when I marry. Remember, his mother couldn't change it, and you can't. So if you married him in spite of his eating habits, adapt to it. You either put cotton wool in your ears, or you also start eating that way. Because the two shall become one flesh, remember. You can't change your partner. You can't change your wife. You can't change your husband. The only person you can change is yourself. Instead of trying so hard to change the other person, try so hard to change yourself. Most of the time, it is the way you see a problem that makes it a problem. I talked about that man whose wife bent his trouser. It could be a problem, but if you don't see it as a problem, it doesn't become a problem. I know somebody will say, Pastor, so what if afterwards he keeps bending your trouser every day? Every day she's bending your trouser. Do you always say, my leg was not in it? My leg was not in it. No, I know that when mistakes are repeated over and over, they become very difficult on you, and your tolerance level, is stretched too much. But most of the time, it is when you decide to complain about something that is wrong, and how you respond to the complaint. You can bring things out which are wrong, but if things are brought out which are wrong in such a way that they hit against the other person, it doesn't penetrate, it is bounced back. Because human beings are made in such a way that anything that affects their dignity and puts them down, they'll resist it. That's how God made human beings. They will fight it if it's against their dignity. And that's why if you correct your husband in such a way that you put him down, he won't see the correction. He will see you as trying to put him down. And all the good intention will be lost. And in the same way, if you correct your wife in such a way that you put her down, she would not see your good intention, and she'll resist it. So yes, after two trousers are bent, you must find a way of correcting. And one of the best ways is iron your own trouser. That's a shortcut. Iron your own trouser. What if you marry and you don't like your wife's food? You get adjusted to it. There is something about acquired taste. How many of you have heard that? Acquired taste. Do you know that some of the food we eat in this country is very, very funny? Kenke and pepper. Can you imagine somebody eating kenke and pepper? The stew is pepper. But we eat kenke and pepper with fish with all relish. Why? It's acquired taste. It's not nice, but we're trained with it. People who eat kenke for the first time after they've grown say that it bites. That's one thing. people who visit this country, it's part of all Ghanaian hospitality. Kenke, they can't touch it. They can eat fufu because you swallow it. But kenke, it will bite your jaws. Because it's fermented corn. But we eat kenke easily because we have acquired the taste. We've gotten used to it. And that's what marriage is all about. Get used to your wife's food. It may bite you the first time. But if you persist, it will be friendly to you. All right? So be ready to accept what you cannot change. You can't change your spouse, but you can change yourself. If you make it your crusade to change the person you are married to, I'm telling you, you have frustration every day of your married life. All your life will be unhappy. But if you decide, I'm going to change my own attitude to the way he does things. I'm going to change my attitude to the way he dresses. I'm going to change my attitude to the way he behaves and the way he walks. If you change that attitude, you'll see that it doesn't really matter the way you have made it to be. The Apostle Paul says, I have learned to be content in every circumstance. Philippians 4:11. It's important for us to learn to turn the process of changing our spouses over to God. Turn it over to God. Begin to pray for your spouse and ask God to bring those changes in their lives. And God will only do that if we don't help him, but we get out of the way. If you've committed your spouse to God, your husband to God, or your wife to God, then stay out and let God do his work. And remember that when God is doing his work, he may not do it in the twinkling of an eye. Most of us are used to always expecting a miracle. You pray for your wife today and you expect tomorrow morning she will change. No, it takes time because God has to work with her own will. And there has to be submission gradually until the point where real change can be seen. Changes are very, very slow. And whilst God is working on your partner, you focus on improving yourself. The third thing you must do, I hope you are following it. The first one was be ready to face the challenges of change. Number 2, be ready to accept what you cannot change. Number 3, express affection and appreciation daily. Isn't it amazing that when people are courting, they are more affectionate, and when they marry, they become very boring? If you go to a restaurant and you see couples at the restaurant, you can tell who is married and who is not. I can just tell you, go to any restaurant and do this survey. Tell them, this is my pastor has given me an assignment to do a survey of people's attitude in restaurants. The attitude of the married people is totally different from the attitude of the unmarried people. Those who are unmarried, who are courting, are talking together and they are joyful and they are having fun and there is so much excitement. You see so much dialogue going on. Those who are married are very quiet. The husband is looking to the west. The wife is looking to the east. They have nothing to talk about because it's been a long time since they talked about themselves. Since they started having children, all the talk is, Akwesi school fees. Have you paid? I haven't paid. What did the teacher say? He didn't say, what about the trouser? Have you hemmed it? That's all they talk about. Their conversation is all based on their children. So when you leave them together, they are total strangers. I read some research findings that will be helpful to all husbands here. I quoted it to my wife yesterday. And this is scientific. Husbands, listen, this is directly to you. This is real scientific research finding. It has been found out. Now you can all decide to practice it after I teach it. It has been found out scientifically that husbands who kiss their wives every morning live an average of 5